Lyndsay Scott, the Scots from Tasmania in the early days. The great-great-grandfather came out as from Edinburgh he was the explorer and surveyor of Tasmania. So the Scots from Tasmania, and that's partly with the Scots. That's where I was born originally, in Tasmania. First of all, I was in the militia, then AIF, for 12 months with the 7th Div. And when I turned 17, the Navy went out to my address parents' address in Victoria, and because earlier you could get into the Navy at 17, and I'd gone there first and signed up with everything. So when I turned 17, they went out to claim me. Oh, no, he's in the army. So they took me from the army. That was in 43, and from then I served till 46, I suppose, in the Navy. And I much preferred the army, actually. Occupations. First of all, Western Australia, of course, that's where I grew up. And we had farms, one at Wagen and one at Denmark. And then father went up to the goldfields, Meekatharra and all that country. And he was always doing night work. So he became a mining engineer. And so we grew up in backcountry all over from there. So my life was perfect, living in the bush. You go home for dinner, and mother was a teacher, very good one, as it turned out. And so grew up mainly in West Australia, and we came over to the eastern states when I was about 12-year-old. Older brother Keith, he died in West Australia, and younger brother, two sisters, they're older than I, and younger brother was born in Albany in Western Australia, and yeah. And of course we were one family where in those days you were a family. You'd come home to your meal, and always at a dining table. Had to, if you're wearing, you couldn't have a shirt rolled up. It had to be down. Everything was absolutely correct. And if father was there, he'd have a short thank you for the day or whatever it is. Very short. And yeah, so it was a good, and yeah, the meal time was always good. The schooling would be constant, so particularly reading. I'd learned to read at a very early time, and of course I was always making things, like old bone and whatever it is. You'd be filing it and shaping it, and apparently I could draw things. I didn't realise it was anything different. Oh, the only schools mainly was when we came over to the eastern states, and apparently my education was very high, so I was always in with the big kids. I was put up straight away into high classes, which meant that we came from Tasmania to Victoria. I guess it might have been about 1939 or something, I've forgotten. And again, I was admitted to the art college, which was unusual at my age. And I had to do night classes to lift my standard, I guess. But the art education was so good. I'm just using as an example, you couldn't go into the life classes unless you'd done 2 years of Head from Life. You can do Head from Life. The education was from architecture to illustration. It was so thorough. The history, of course, and then I did about 2 years of that, and then that's when I joined the forces when I was 16. And when I got out of the forces, didn't know what to do. To get a proper job was not easy. I was then to go into the timber industry, and it was suggested that I go take part in the mills rather than anything else. And Jaeger timber mills in Smithton, they were going to take me there, and I was getting a lift across in a ketch, but that's in Victoria. The weather was so bad that they were at Williamstown in Victoria for, so I came home and I had at that time, a chrome racing bike with a fixed wheel, a kit bag. So I put it on the back and I rode up to Mildura and finished up. I didn't know what I was going to do, and fortunately I was given a job of going out and cutting timber with the axe for 6 months or so, cutting 6 foot lengths for the Mildura powerhouse. So it was a good education. After that, I sort of went back to college and did the 3rd and 4th year with the college, and and at that time there weren't many people doing 3rd or 4th year in the college, so I was pretty well the only one. So I had absolute freedom, unbelievably freedom. There was a drill hall at the back of where the college was. I had use of that where I could do the J.C. Williamson theatre people. I could do big backdrops for them and do some of their stage work pieces for them there, and so kept me out of trouble. So everything was happening. We were at war. Quite dangerous. We were being invaded. This is in Victoria at the time, and people had to black their lights out, driving motor vehicles. I think the headlights were restricted. Everything was happening. It was quite dangerous. It was happening. So possibly, I don't know. The father was First World and First World forces, and so perhaps, I don't know, but perhaps that because where we're living in the bush, we always grew up with. We always had firearms at home, and that was part of my job, was to maintain an old Mauser pistol, which is still being used. In West Australia, you could have a license you didn't have to have a license, rather you could just have firearms. So perhaps, I know I'm talking at the moment, but that could have had some influence in doing what I did. But the army it was good, so good. Again, being spoilt, our platoon, they went up to Queensland jungle training and straight up to New Guinea, where for some reason I was selected and put into officers training school. So I was kept back doing OTC, belonged to that platoon. So that kept me in the army, still doing that stuff. So till the Navy claimed me when I became 17 years of age. So again, as you probably picked up, my life has been, I haven't governed it. Everything just happens, and it still happens. As an example, I've been living on a boat for a few years, and I've just decided that I don't want to live in this part of Australia. It's too crowded, too busy, too many rules and regulations, and so I've decided to sell the boat, which is happening apparently, and I'll just go, and things will happen. So I've got no trepidation or a worry about the future. It's all going to work out. North of New Guinea, just off, is an island called Biak. We were taking part with the American, we were working with the Americans at that time. And the Americans, they'd absolutely flattened the country. Their bombardment, the whole thing, everything's, the palm trees are just stumps and whatever. Then they'd move their troops in and take possession of it and put up quarters huts. They'd go up very, very quickly, and they cleared an airstrip there, so that Biak became an air base, which meant that the aircraft coming in, there was so much wreckage at that time. They had what they call the graveyard, where they'd put the wreckage, erect aircraft down, bulldozer down one end. And I was on the Bathurst, a Corvette at that time. I was motorboat coxswain. Take a party ashore, and they could go and get bits and pieces from the aircrafts and take them back on board. The coxswain, I had to remember his name too, was Lyndsay. And anyway, I took him ashore separately. He went into the American Qantas huts things and just helped himself to valuable stuff. He put them all into a what they call a kerosene box, or box that he had there, and I brought all the ones, the lower deck, the sailors, brought them back on board, and then I made a special trip to pick up the coxswain, and he came back with the box of stuff, and that was it. So, but the Americans had their own, like a police. They had almost an army uniform. Americans came on board, and instead of coming into the foredeck to catch what they'd got, they went straight down to the petty officers' mess, and outside Gillespie's cabin was this box of all the goodies, and he was almost put under arrest. They were taking him back to the American, whatever it was, on ashore at Biak. And so the motorboat, we had on the fore, it had a foredeck, and so being the coxswain, they passed the box of all the stuff that Gillespie had got. They passed it down to me. Unfortunately, I slipped off and I went into the water, and everything went into the water. So all the box of the stolen stuff and everything, that went down. But they still persisted that he was going to be charged with all the stealing things. We then had to go, he was more or less put onto like an arrest. He was confined to his cabin pretty well. We went out to Maritime, or Port Moresby actually, and they had a big, oh God, I've forgotten the name of the, anyway, a big First World War ship was made their depot down there, the Adelaide, and they had the court-martial was going to happen where they go to charge Gillespie the whole thing, and they were all dressed up in their number one, the whole thing. But I've been given by, again, Gillespie a typed statement that I could, when I was questioned, and my was brushed off that the evidence I gave was so contradictory that it was worthless. So that's my experience with being court-martial with a court-martial. So from there, I think peace was declared with the Japanese, and we were immediately moved to, had to do the sweep. Mine sweeping, corvettes had sweeps on them, and for the into Hong Kong. So from then on, for about 6 months, we cleared all the waters going way up to, which is now Taiwan. It was then Formosa. So we had about 6 months. By this time, it's pretty well peace declared. So finally, I was sort of talked into, or whatever, that I should go back and pick up my art thing again. So that's when I went to the college for, finished the 3rd and 4th year. So, which again, the art education was so strict, or so educational, it was so perfect, which meant that I can then go into advertising, although in those earlier days it was mainly illustration, story illustrations or covers of whatever. And then that's that sort of work going right up till I think 1960, or they had, the country had a credit squeeze or something. There's what was going to happen, and the company I was working with had no work coming in, and meant that actually I was working a couple of other jobs. They had I was doing a security run at night time, finished at about 3:30 in the morning, and also I was connected with the drive-in theatre to do some of their stuff. And somebody said, "Why don't you take on teaching?" I can't, I've never, whatever. But so I went into the education people, and immediately with a background, I became a tutor in Paran Institute. So I was teaching people of your age to begin with the art and art education thing. And from then on, they said to get promotion, I should go into their technical schools. And so I had I was given the head of the art thing in the technical school, and so so I had all that going for quite a few years. Oh, it could be close to 20 years, I think. So having enough of that, then switched to phys ed and became a phys ed instructor as well. Actually, the one of the girls at the college finished up marrying her, Barbara. She was a Camel, and her father was the night editor for originally in Brisbane, and when wartime they came down to Melbourne, so he was night of the Age, and again it was very fashionable for daughters to go to a college, and that's after they finished their schooling. Instead of going to work or whatever it was, so quite a number of them went to art college, and that's when I met Barbara there, and I finished up marrying her. And yes, I had 2 boys and two girls. And in fact, the one girl here, a lady, of course, now, I think she's actually a grandmother fairly recently, so they're growing up a bit. She's living at her place at Coochie Island here in Queensland, and she's a music lady. And the other daughter, she's in Victoria, and her job is connected with education too. And Bruce still works that's the taller one. And Robert, his elder brother, died a couple of years ago. So a very good friend of mine, he lives at Sanctuary Cove, bloody Darryl. And he was down on my boat. I was going through papers. I was looking for another old photograph of one thing. And I was going through the papers, and that's my birth certificate. Darryl went across, grabbed that, oh, look. So up till then, people didn't know who or what I was. They didn't know what my age was. And living at Hope Island, where I am now, there's groups of people who have come up, particularly parties of younger ones, and they come up and party on and things. And being Darryl, he get talking, guess how old he is? And so from there, and then generally somebody, and often a young female, say, oh, what's your secret? So I'd say, instead of saying fish and chips or bananas, say, sex. And it would shut them up completely. They wouldn't ask any more questions. So, yeah. Wow. So that, I told you it was going to be a bit rude, but it's respect to people where possible. So much they don't deserve respect. We're helping if you're able to help in a helpful way, not a way where you're going to change and whatever, but generally appreciating life if possible. But it's so easy to become critical. To get a driving licence here, every 12 months in Queensland you have to have a optical and medical, which has just happened recently. And the registrations, you want to know, did you want a 5-year or 10-year licence? So I didn't know whether to get the 10-year one or the 5-year. So Anyway, so I got the 5 year. No, I haven't been in touch with any of them. It's I was finished. That was a part of my life that I didn't want to go back to it, and so the having experience with ships again when I was at college, being the only one doing 3rd and 4th year, I could go down and join a coastal boat to increase my salary a little bit, and I'd come back to college again. And so, no, I haven't been in touch with any of them. As you probably guessed, I don't think of the past. I don't think of what's happened. I don't think about it. It's all an education, of course. I think we're still learning, and that's partly why we're alive, to learn. And there's so many I can criticise who shouldn't be filling up space. They're not learning. I'm still learning. I've still got a lot to learn. And if I can become aware of appreciating what I can pick up, good. I've still got a lot to live. Yeah. So, and not just going to school, you learn by your own mistakes. You learn by criticising other people, perhaps. I like animals. In fact, I very much like particularly horses and dogs, and so I work with them quite a bit. And you're still learning, not just education. That's where it's can be so dangerous, particularly with young people, in teaching them. They can be taught the wrong way. Just talking to you get little flashbacks. When I was put into the technical schools, the strap was being used as punishment, and sometimes it's so cruel, it was unjust. I'd never come across this sort of education before. The technical school, this one, they'd be about 15 or whatever their age group, and there was 2 in particular. They would threaten or encourage somebody else to play up to such an extent that they get the strap to whatever it was. I became aware of these 2, so I brought this one out, came out, he swaggered out, he's going to cop it. And in the desk, the room I had there was a strap. So pull the drawer out, and everyone's in preparation it's going to happen, because with me that didn't happen. So got the strap out. That's quite a big one. I got about that much. I put his hand out. And, "You naughty, naughty boy, never do that again." So that was good for everyone. It put him back in being ridiculous with his attitude, being a bully, the whole thing. And from then on, actually, he was quite helpful in so many ways. He appreciated what he learnt. So you're all there. That's only one little lesson, and he learnt a little bit. So so we're learning in so many different ways. Education is not just a classroom. Education, you're probably being educated today in some way or another. So we're still learning.